Starting to really like his. Anyway.
That seems unlikely. He could be watching. Anything's possible, but that seems
Yeah.
unlikely.
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday I was cruising down the interstate in my truck, and my oil pressure light comes on. I get a warning. It flashes across the screen, and it just says low oil pressure for like a split second, and then it goes away. And I'm thinking, surely that's a fluke. But I pull over off the side of the road anyways to check it out. By the time I get pulled over to the side of the road, it just straight up says like low oil pressure. I can smell burning oil. I get out of the truck and all of the oil has just dumped out of the bottom of my Maverick, like in less than 30 seconds. I'm,
Whoa.
dude, it's got 20,000 miles on it. I don't know what it is. I had it towed to the Ford dealership where I bought it, but could potentially be like catastrophic because you're going 70, I don't know, it's somewhere between 65 and 75 miles per hour. And
Mm-hmm.
all of the oil just like that gone. And
And it was still running.
I hope it's all right. It was still running, yeah. So I shut it
Oh.
off like from the time the oil pressure light came on to the time I had the truck in park and turned off on the side of the road. It couldn't have been more than 30 seconds, you know? So that's good. But it was yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what it
Damn.
is. They said it'll probably be a few days before they have it diagnosed, before they have it figured out. But yeah, I don't know. If you or someone you know is potentially interested in purchasing a brand new Ford Maverick hybrid.
Oil
I
pan.
was the salesperson to talk to about a week ago. Nowadays, I don't know if I recommend. We'll see next week. But
That's crazy. Do you remember hitting anything, or is it just
no, everything was
wow?
perfectly
That's
smooth, and then the light flashed, and I was like, it's got to be there's something electronic. Surely not. But yeah, like I pulled over on the side of the road, and like there's a lot of dirt there. And so
mm-hmm.
there's just like it looks like someone just took a gallon of oil and poured it on the dirt right below my truck in the matter of like seconds. So
Wow. That's
fingers
ridiculous.
crossed. It's probably I don't know. Hopefully it's just like I don't know. I don't even think there could be a situation where like a hose burst or something like that. Oil doesn't move through hoses. It's contained within,
Well,
the
it could.
engine.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the Maverick looks like, but I mean, there could be oil lines running to a cooler. That could be a thing that could
Uh,
burst,
yeah, I
or
guess
the
you're
the
right.
clamps could come off of it, or yeah.
Well, it's hopefully it's something that falls under the manufacturer warranty. Like, and I keep thinking to myself, like, certainly it has to be warranted, but like, what if like,
If not, it's going to be an insurance issue, huh?
yeah, one way or another,
Ford
I'm
doesn't
not,
handle it.
I'm
I
not
know Allstate
responsible.
will.
Um, what was I gonna say though? Oh yeah, so I think like in a situation where like maybe something flew, like another car in front of me, like kicked something up and it made its way into my engine bay, like punctured something, and somehow I didn't hear that. Like if that's the case, I'm sure that wouldn't be under warranty. Like that. Hopefully, then insurance would cover that, but they're not going to cover damage. They only cover manufacturer issues or
I
failures.
if they ask you, what was the cause, your response should be, read me what you cover, and then pick one that's closest to what the cause was.
Oh man. Yeah, well, fingers crossed. When I first bought the truck, I opted for the extended warranty, which comes with rental car coverage. And the guys, when they sell it to you, they're like, yeah, and if you get this package, your, whatever, your 3 year or like your 1 year bumper to bumper warranty gets extended out to 5 years, and we'll cover the cost of a rental car anytime you have to bring your vehicle in. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. I love it. You're you're like you're really looking out for me, man. What a pal. And then I signed the paperwork. I'm leaving. I'm having a look at the warranty, and it's like, we'll cover up to $26 a day towards your rental car. And then I Google, like, what
Hmm.
does the average rental car cost? And it was like, I think like $130 a day here in San Diego.
$126 a day.
So I was pissed. I was like, oh, this bastards, typical like car salesman. So I went in there expecting to have to deal with that, but they didn't contact a rental car company. They just handed me the keys to one of the trucks they have as like a fleet vehicle. And
Hmm.
like they're just letting me drive around another Ford Maverick, bright blue, kind of dig it, until they fix mine. So I was like genuinely impressed. Like I was expecting to have to deal with a headache of paying for a rental car.
Yeah, no, this is, and that's actually a very good longer term strategy because when you build your case, when you before say a judge, and then you can instantly say that you not only had a traumatic experience in one Ford Maverick, but the next thing that that company wanted to do was jeopardize your well being in already emotionally traumatized state and put you in another, Ford Maverick.
I really I messed up because they offered me they just have like a dozen vehicles sitting around waiting for people like me to use, I guess. The dude's looking at the board of keys and he's like, would you like a Ford Ranger? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a Ranger. And he goes, oh wait, no, we have a Maverick here, would you prefer a Maverick? I was like, yeah, I'll go with the Maverick, thinking that like I'd save gas money in a hybrid Maverick. Totally forgot that there was a Maverick that's not a hybrid. So now I've got this Maverick all-wheel drive that gets the same gas mileage as the Ford Ranger, but it's smaller. I was like, ah,
Yep.
dang it. That's how they get you.
I'm actually surprised that's one of the first vehicles they have in San Diego is an all-wheel drive Maverick. For that seems crazy to me.
It's real weird. When I got into it, it only had 100 miles on it. So it's like it's a new, and it's got Bronco wheels on it. Like they took the Maverick wheels off and put on Bronco wheels, but everything else is like totally stock. But the wheels have the little bucking Bronco emblem on it. It looks, I don't know.
Are they
It's
different
just
sizes?
same size because I think they come. I don't think they're from the big new Bronco. I think they're off of the Bronco Sport, which is like the
Hmm.
smaller
Yep.
model that's built on the same powertrain or chassis as the all-wheel drive Maverick. So makes sense, like
Hmm.
easy swap. But it looks kind of silly because you're looking at a Maverick and it's got the Bronco logos on the wheels. So I don't know. That would turn me off if I were looking to buy the truck, but
Yeah, that's a weird fit.
whatever.
Did you notice any? This is turning out to be a Ford podcast. Um, do you notice any difference in the drivability or handling between the all-wheel drive one and the front-wheel drive?
Yeah, the all-wheel drive it's the EcoBoost motor, and my hybrid has the electric motor and a smaller four-cylinder engine, but it's full-time front-wheel drive. And the all-wheel
Hmm.
drive, there's a noticeable difference in how it handles because if I'm not mistaken, it's all-time all-wheel drive, so you can't put it in like, when you think four-wheel drive, you think, okay, well, it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle that
Hmm.
you can then
And then
engage
engage. Yeah.
the front part of the powertrain. But that's not the case with this truck, at least best I can tell. So there's that. But then you know how a lot of modern vehicles, whenever you come to a red light or a stop sign, everything shuts off to conserve
Hmm.
fuel. And then when
Yep.
you hit the gas pedal, it kicks back up. When the Maverick does that, you can't, or when my hybrid Maverick does that, I don't even notice it because at really low speeds, it's the electric motor that's, you know, engaged anyways. It's way more noticeable in the um the all-wheel drive EcoBoost Maverick. And then on top of that, like whenever it cuts off the air conditioning too, which is kind of annoying because if it could be really hot outside and you got the AC blowing on you and you come to a red light, it stops blowing AC for like,
That
I
seems
don't
like
know,
an oversight.
30 seconds. Yeah, the same thing when I sold Chevys in
Yours doesn't.
2017. No, mine doesn't.
The
And it
hybrid
might,
doesn't. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, the truck
Hmm.
definitely, like, the when you come to a stop, the combustion engine definitely turns off, but my air conditioner and everything keeps blowing. And so it's weird. There's some things about it that are different that I would have thought would not have been different, but it's whatever. It still drives pretty
Hmm.
smooth. I would have expected like more torque, more, I don't know. It Other than those few things, it feels like I'm driving the same truck.
Sure.
So I prefer the hybrid. I'm glad I went with the hybrid. I thought if ever given the
Yeah.
opportunity to drive the all-wheel drive model that I would regret having gone with the hybrid, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. I'm sure. That seems crazy to have. Like, is our technology not up to a point where we can keep an air conditioner going on a gasoline powered engine when it's turning off to save gas? Like that seems like it should be a thing.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with it, man. They had a Chevy Silverado 1500 with, I think they called it e-assist technology. It did the same thing back in 2017 when I was selling Chevrolets, and it was a huge turnoff for a lot of people. And it did the same thing
Hmm.
with the air conditioning. Like if you came to a stop
Cut
sign or a
just
red
cut it.
light, just cut it off. Like doesn't matter if you've got the AC set on 60 degrees and it's 95 degrees outside. Like it's way hotter out there, and you're trying to keep it cool in here. It still cuts off on you. Did the same thing with the heater in cold
Hmm.
weather. So yeah, I don't know.
And you can turn off because I went a few weeks ago to look at a Jeep and it had the e assist, I guess, but it wasn't called that. It was called I don't know what that feature is where it turns off at stoplights, but you could turn that feature off. And I think I did right away, and the air conditioning wasn't blowing. So I don't know if that is the same thing in Jeeps or not, but you can turn that off, right? In Fords.
Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed so you can turn it off. There's a button to just turn it off, and then if you put the truck into sport mode, because it's got 4 or 5 different modes, like the one's for slippery driving conditions, one's to increase fuel economy, one's for towing, one's sport mode, and I think the fifth one is just normal. When you put
Mm-hmm.
it in sport mode, it automatically turned off that feature. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, not a fan.
Hmm.
I did not
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
weird. It's super weird.
So it's Valentine's Day today. I'm sure you know. Did you by chance get flowers or anything for your mom?
Today's, well, a couple things. So today's Tuesday to me. So that's probably answers the second question, right? But I don't subscribe to that, man. I don't believe in that whole I get it. Actually, this might be a good thing to look up so I'm less ignorant, but I don't know the original point of Valentine's Day. Um, but from what I am willing to accept about it, I'm not I'm not willing to throw in it includes my mother as well as some romantic partner. Go
I
ahead,
figured
let's hear it.
I
I
figured you'd say that. I so
yeah.
I am of the
Bought your mom
mind.
flowers. That's what I that's what I should have come back with. Missed opportunities. It's Tuesday.
Oh man. Um I am of the mind that Valentine's Day is a consumerist capitalist Ponzi scheme created by
Yeah.
Hershey's and I don't know 1-800 flowers. And
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. But you know who is a fan? Every woman in the world. So
I
so
I think it's okay, so here's another term, and I actually heard I was speaking to a woman recently, and she said this, not me. It is a pressure cooker for currently engaged relationships. And I think that's true because I
that's a
think it puts a lot of pressure on the situation, because it's like, okay, first of all, it's a Tuesday. Mondays are shit. Everybody's stressed on a Monday, and it's like, oh, Tuesday. Okay, well, like, put your game face on because it's on the line. It's like, okay, well, are you stressed? I wasn't, but I am now.
That's
I
a
agree with that. I think it is.
that's a really good way to put it. There's a there's like a social stress level associated with how, at least here in the West, with how people approach holidays. Like there's expectations, and if you don't meet someone's expectations on any given holiday, you're like there's some stress associated with it. And complete, like, if there is anything worth celebrating on that holiday, I'd say odds are, from my experience, more often than not, whatever's being celebrated goes on the back burner, and like making sure that
Mhm.
I am, meeting the expectations of whoever I'm celebrating that holiday with becomes the priority. That certainly seems true about, birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, definitely Valentine's Day. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
don't even know. Like, I could tell you the origin, or at least a brief idea of what the origin of any other given holiday might be. I don't know a dang thing about Valentine's Day.
You want to know what my search phrase was?
Let's
What's
hear it.
what's Valentine's Day about?
What did you just duck go? Why is Valentine's Day a scam?
Why should I care about this Tuesday in particular? Uh, might be okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave that ad out on the side. It's also called Saint Valentine's Day. Tell me, name one person that you've ever heard call it Saint Valentine's Day.
Probably someone
There's
in
probably Catholic listeners right now. Hey,
yeah,
trying to type in.
probably someone in Stephanie's family.
Word. Okay, so it's when, and this is, I guess, an official documented definition. Lovers, it's when lovers express their affection with greetings and gifts. Um, has its origins in the Roman festival of Lupercalia.
Oh, so it's a leprechaun tradition.
Yeah, and I think if you have leprosy, you can't celebrate it.
I read that somewhere. I absolutely read that somewhere.
typing it out as you, so you can read it. Do you ever do that? Do you ever try weird topic right on Valentine's Day? Do you ever like someone asks you something and then you say something? It's not a lie. It's not even a fib. It's like whatever is less than a fib, but then you need to make it true. So you're like, oh, I read that, and then you're like, shit. So then you go read it. So then you read it, but then you're like, it's. You ever get anything like that? No, no, you're a
About
man of
the
your word, I think. I
closest
guess.
about the closest I can come to that is when I found out in like middle school or high school that anybody could write anything on Wikipedia. I made a Wikipedia
You
page about
just
myself,
said the Wikipedia.
and I just went to town. Now, the page doesn't even exist, and Wikipedia is like far more sanctioned nowadays. But back in the day, anybody could just write anything, and it was like the law. So I don't know.
And you're quoting from Wikipedia. Oh, that's
um,
gold.
yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, I spent a lot of time just trying to corrupt otherwise seemingly factual Wikipedia articles. But odds are there's not a single character on any given Wikipedia page today that I at one point typed. So
You should revisit that and pick out a specific like category like Pokemon or something and just go in and just slightly tweak. Nah, probably don't dedicate too much time to this, but you could have a lot of fun with that. Like you just slightly tweak a bunch of information about Pokemon to like
Char-
influence.
Charizard was only 4 feet tall. Ash was a midget.
Oh, they're gonna know that's not true. I'm saying something subtle.
Um, yeah. What would
Like
be
Ash believed that friendship only solved most problems.
even Ash would occasionally admit that some solutions required violence.
Some say that Ash used fake tear attack against. Oh man, I love fake tear attack, and I still don't know the Pokemon name that does it.
Oh, my
It's
daughter
a
used fake tear attack every other day this weekend.
yeah. How'd it go? Was
It
it
was it was fun.
emotionally? Yeah.
It's it's tiring. Like when you go from, I don't know, like normal life to then like normal life with a 5-year-old. It's like you every and I'm envious of this. Um like I would gladly take on every single burden associated with like having to provide everything that needs to be provided for Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was absolutely like to be with her Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then I dropped off at school this morning on Tuesday, and she'll spend a couple nights with her grandparents before her mom gets back in town. Um, it was super super fun. There are certain points where it's like, okay, kid, um, you're not being super sweet right now, and I'm not loving it.
And I dislike this.
Uh, Overall, this entire experience pretty groovy. This little snippet of the experience less groovy than the overall experience. So if we could just, I don't know, get back to the baseline, that would be like max groovy. But good luck communicating that to her.
You let her
It
sleep
was
on the bookshelf or what?
no, we spent the first 2 nights here on the boat, and she slept in the bed with us. And then we got a hotel room up in Escondido Sunday night
Mm.
and Monday night because we have to have her at school at like 7:45 in the morning. So we got a hotel room that's like 5 minutes from her school. Otherwise, we'd have to leave here about an hour beforehand to
Mm-hmm.
get her there on time. So 2 nights on the boat, a blast. Took her for a very short ride in the Boston Whaler, and she loved it. Um,
Oh, I'm sure.
Living or not living, but like being in the hotel room was like also a blast because it was like no real responsibility with like keeping things clean because housekeeping's going to come in and tend to it. So, um, and it got us it gets us off the boat for a couple of days, and
Mm-hmm.
that's those little breaks from the boat life are pretty fun. So,
Yeah, I'm sure.
um, but it was great. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast, and I think we're gonna have her for a similar sort of um, thing next month. Courtney's going out of town again, so um, I don't know. Hopefully, this will happen more and more often. So,
Sure.
but it was awesome. I can't wait till you have a 5-year-old.
Well, in 4 years and 3 months. um, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm super glad to hear it, and yeah, I'm super excited to have a 5-year-old as well.
So, with that
And
being
and
said,
I mean that.
we're actually considering putting Samantha up for adoption. So, if you're really genuinely interested,
Oh yeah. Have you seen the movie The Great Mouse Detective?
I don't think so.
There's this part. I won't play it, but there's this part. It's called there's this little bat. His name is Fidget, and he takes, I think her name's Olivia. She's like the child mouse, and I want to say she's right around 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. There's probably a huge difference between a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, but I don't know it. And so yeah, he like takes her. He's like holding this little baby mouse and like stuffs her into a beer bottle, and then corks it. And he's like, "Psst, there, that'll hold you. And then he goes on like this ridiculous. You should check it out. It's very funny, and we should show it maybe on the next one. It's classic,
I'll
and that's
take
what
your
it reminded me of.
I'll take your word for it. Let
Yeah.
me when you were looking, so can you see your video
Mm-hmm.
footage right
Yep.
now? Do you seem pixelated or blurry at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you?
So, um my video for me does not. Your video on my end does. So, since it's clear for you on your end and mine's clear for me on my end, I'm hoping that whenever we export this file, like it'll just take the best from both
Mm-hmm.
ends. I don't know if that's how it works. So we'll see. That'll be something to look out for whenever we try to edit this
Yeah.
thing.
If I had to guess, based on what I know about how things work, it's going to take the worst for both of us. And that's not a technical perspective.
uh,
That's just a general life thing.
it's going to take the weakest 4 of my 8 GB of RAM, and the weakest 2 of your 64 GB.
Uh,
Did you see that that scene from Tomahawk, Bone Tomahawk?
I didn't look at it yet. No, I didn't watch it.
You
Piece of shit.
shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Is it bad?
I
Oh, there's
you
an age
cert
restriction.
you certainly shouldn't watch it now because it's like a 3-minute video. I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you what it is. It's ridiculous. So I think it's probably the goriest scene I've seen from any movie. And I think I haven't seen the movie, and I don't even know how I got turned on to the scene from the movie. But I think the main storyline, it's kind of like a modern day. I think the film is less than 10 years old. I could be totally wrong, but it's like a
2015.
yeah, it's like a modern old western. And so you've got this, I think he's the sheriff played by Kurt Russell, and they've got some killings or disappearances going on in the town, and they find out that I think they find out there's like an underground, like really old sort of native community, like a cannibalistic native community living under the town or something like that. And the scene starts with Kurt Russell's character, a couple other people, they're being held hostage underground, and they drag out this borderline unconscious prisoner from like a different sort of wooden cell. They have these cells built underground with like wooden posts, and they they take the guy, and there's 3 different, whatever, I don't even want to call them Native Americans or Indians because it's like it's brutal. Well, what they do is they take the guy, and I don't know what they're supposed to be based off of because I haven't watched the movie, but I'm assuming it's just like some fantasy cannibalistic natives.
Sure.
They take the guy and they scalp him while he's still alive, and then they take his scalp and they shove it into his mouth, and then they take like a handmade dagger, and then they use the dagger to poke the scalp like deeper into his throat so he's like choking on it, and then they stick the dagger in his mouth and then just hit the dagger to, I don't know, lobotomize, is that the term? Like they just like through his mouth into his brain to kill him.
I think you're about 2 inches low for a lobotomy. I think it's but yeah, I get the picture.
Anyways, they they
It's
they
more
kill him
like how
that
I
way.
drink coffee than a lobotomy, but yeah.
They kill him, and then they turn him upside down, and 2 of these guys, they're holding, there's one holding each leg, and they're holding his legs up in the air like this, and the third character takes an axe and just starts axing away at his groin, and the man's butt naked, and just starts cutting him in half at his groin. And then the 2 guys holding his legs just slowly start to rip him apart, and they rip him from like groin to head, and it's just like
Wow.
everything just spills out. It was gnarly. and I don't recommend anyone watching it. I don't recommend you watching it, but when I saw it, I was like, you. It's one of those things that you see it and you're like, I don't think, like, I get that something like that may have happened. I don't think it's good for people to visualize things like that unless it's absolutely necessary. And I can hardly think of a situation where it's absolutely necessary. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. The do you remember, like, it seems like older movies. Got on a kick with my parents for a while a few years ago where we watched older movies like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like, some of them were really old, like they weren't even talkies. They were just, silent movies. And there was a lot more implied violence and action based on violence. And I think that, and I read about this or I heard about it somewhere, that from the production standpoint, there's a circle, right? There's a circle of how much you can convey. And there's a circle from the business logic, like we have this much time and this much money, that's the full pot. We can use a portion of that for this, a portion for that. But that same kind of division, I think, happens for any given scene where there's like a portion of what you're asking the watcher to do is to feel the pain of that character or to experience the brutality that's happening. And I think depending on how much you show visually of that, or maybe audibly too, um, you're negotiating that. You're negotiating how much you want them to feel and what type of feeling. And but I don't know. I'm not sure it's better. Like I'm not sure that you're like parts of Saw. I haven't seen all of the Saw series, but parts of Saw made me physically ill. Like the needle scene and stuff made me physically ill to watch. But I wouldn't say that's a better or more impact. I'm talking about it, right? But I wouldn't say that's a goal to shoot for when you're trying to describe a scene visually. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure that it's better where we're at now with that extreme gore than when we did more like implied violence. I don't know. I don't know if that's better for the story or not.
yeah, that's a good question. I think it's I think more likely than not, the more detailed of an image you're painting, the better off it is for the viewer, right? Because they're having to do less imagining on their end. But with that being said, like I don't think like the what net positive is there to like being exposed to things like the Saw movies? And I used to love watching the Saw movies when I was younger. My dad and I were pretty big into horror movies, so I probably saw like the first 3 or 4 Saw movies, but I I get why like a film studio would want to make movies like that because they're probably going to be successful because it's such a like there's like super violent, brutal, gory movies. Like that's kind of a niche that most studios like probably aren't interested in,
Mm-hmm.
being involved with. So from a business point of view, making a movie like that seems like a good move because it's not an oversaturated market that you're trying to cater to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like I don't know. I don't know if that applies to all movies, all horror movies, but I don't know what positive, if any at all, comes from watching a movie or a movie series like the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I would I say the same thing about like the original Jason movies or Freddy Krueger or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I try to stay away
It's
from
a good
them.
question.
I try to stay
It's
away
a
from them
hard
lately.
question. Yeah, it's a hard
Right?
question for sure.
What do you think about wrapping this up here? this one because we're at
Yeah.
34 minutes now. We can go ahead and
Let's do it.
kill this, and then if you've got time, we could do at least one more, I think.
I got time. Let's do it.
Okay, cool.